Let me tell you something about a brain structure called anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Scientists have started studying it in the last couple of years, and the findings are interesting to say the least. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is part of the brain that has been found to be larger in people who overcome challenges and do hard things. When I heard about this, I immediately thought that it might have something to do with Sisu, the Finnish word for inner force that will keep you going through hard times. So let's take a look at what science has discovered. Anterior mid-cingulate cortex is a bit of a mouthful and the word itself doesn't really help that much. So let's call it Bob for the rest of the video. As I mentioned earlier, people who overcome challenges and do hard things in their lives tend to have bigger Bob than others. On the other hand, obese people and people with sedentary lifestyle tend to have smaller Bob. The good news is that the Bob can be trained and made grow the same way as any other muscle in your body. But is there any reason to have bigger Bob? One interesting find was that people who tend to live longer have bigger Bob, and their Bob tends to maintain its size as they grow older. However, it's important to note that there is no certainty whether a bigger Bob directly causes longevity or it's just a coincidence. Another thing scientists are beginning to consider is that Bob might not only be the source of willpower, but also the will itself. So having a bigger Bob could give you a stronger will. Well, that's all well and good, but it won't help anyone if you don't know how to train it. So, how do you train your Bob to make it grow? It's actually quite simple. You just need to do something you don't want to do. Moving your body when you don't want to is an excellent method for this. However, there are a few things to keep in mind when training for your Bob. The first thing is that the task you choose needs to be something you don't enjoy. If you like it, then your Bob won't grow. For example, something that might be uncomfortable at first may become comfortable later on. It's similar to training your body. Progress is fast at first, but then it plateaus, and that's when you need to make changes in your training program. A great example of this is taking cold baths. The first time you take a cold bath, you'll probably hate it. But if you keep doing it for a couple of weeks, you might start to enjoy it. So it's good to occasionally pause and assess whether your training method is still effective. The second thing to keep in mind is the difference between effort and discomfort. If you love going to the gym and doing sets to failure, your Bob won't grow even if it takes a lot of effort to finish those sets. Or if you enjoy running, then a marathon might not be the best way to train your Bob, even though the last few kilometers will be really tough and uncomfortable. The first half might still be sort of comfortable and not count as training for Bob. The third thing about Bob is that just as easily as you can make it grow, you can also make it shrink. And the way to shrink your Bob is to stop doing hard and uncomfortable things. So the most important part of training Bob is consistency. You'll make much more progress by doing something slightly uncomfortable every single day rather than facing a huge challenge once a week. As with everything, start small and once you get better, ramp up the difficulty. No one can run marathons every single day. Everyone needs to train for it. So start small and see how it goes. I'll compile a list about the things you might want, or rather don't want to try. You can find it in the description below. Finally, before we wrap things up, let's talk about the effects on your life if you start journey of cultivating your willpower and Sisu. It might sound strange, but I sincerely believe that when we do things that are hard and uncomfortable, our lives become better and happier at the same time. There are two reasons why I think this. The first is that once you get used to the uncomfortable things, then the bad things in your life don't seem as bad anymore. On the other hand, all the good things and the times you feel happy will feel much better than before. It's all about contrast. Happy times will get happier and sad times will become a bit easier to handle. The second reason for doing hard things is the sense of respect and accomplishment. Think about the things that make people respect each other. Most, if not all, are things that are hard to do. Think about athletes, experts, but also builders, sewage workers, or anyone who works in a demanding field. They all are, or at least should be, respected. But more importantly, if you start doing difficult things, you begin to earn respect for yourself. Nowadays, I feel that people don't respect themselves enough to set priorities or boundaries in their lives. Self-respect comes from accomplishments. And what else gives you a better feeling of accomplishment than completing a difficult task? Do you feel accomplished when you go from the couch to freezer and get some ice cream? Or do you feel more accomplished when you get perfect score on a test after hard study or finishing a marathon? I leave you with these thoughts. Let me know down in the comments if there are some things that you could try or are already doing. Remember to start small. It's better to do a little every day than a lot once in a while. See you in the next video.